But I just think what you've built is so rare and so niche and so specific to all of the things that you've grown through, be it from your parents and be it through the 17 and having your own kids. Like, this is a real, genuine entrepreneur journey, because folks think that it just starts from nowhere. Like, oh, all of a sudden she's international. Like, no, honey. No. I've been doing this for a very, very long time.
No,
a lot
my
of
stay import's been fat for a long time. No, I mean, before I started my own company.
Yes.
I had to do this for the companies. I've been, going from logistics, I went into trade. I had to learn the law behind the movement. So I was traveling abroad for companies that I work for as a W-2. So people always say, I'm never going to work for somebody. That's a new thing. I hear that all the time. And I don't knock that. If that works for you and you can solve a problem and you can sustain that, do what you do. For me, coming from the era I was in, working the jobs that I worked gave me the experience that I needed to come in this. And I don't call myself the only, I just call myself the best.
We want to thank y'all for coming to another episode. Hey, entrepreneurs, it's Connie S Falls, and the S is for systems. You are here with us on Life with Systems, where we're finding the harmony between business and our personal lives. And today we have a beautiful, beautiful guest. Hey, Shaq.
Hey, Connie.
How you doing?
I'm great. Life is good.
I know it's good. It's good. It's not just good here. It's good globally.
I truly can contest to that.
So let's get back into our conversation we were just having, if that's okay with you. Everybody okay with us?
Cool.
Let me tell you something. First of all, when people talk about global, I don't think they're saying the same thing that you're saying when you talk about global. Mm-hmm. Tell me about your business, and then we'll get back into the other stuff.
So for everyone, first, my name formally is Shaquana Teasley. Everyone calls me Shaq. Hey, Shaq. And that was given to me by a team that reported to me in China because they couldn't say Shaquana. And Shaquille O'Neal was playing in the Olympics in China at the time. So they just started calling me Shaq.
Wow.
And that was like 16 years ago. So I've been Shaq professionally ever since.
I love that.
So the name of my company is Agate Solutions, which is a beautiful agate stone, as you can see here on my butterfly.
I love it.
And we named the company Agate because agate represents peace and solace. And we want to bring a solid solution to the complexities of international trade, which we know is truly complex.
It's very complex. I don't even think people understand what that means. Yeah. We're like, international trade. Yeah, sure. What
Someone asked me if it was Bitcoin. I was like, Bitcoin trade? No. Why do you think
Who's talking to us about that? No, we never heard that term before. So explain to us what that means to you.
So international trade is a part of supply chain. But there's certain sectors of international trade I think people get totally confused about. So there's international trade policy. We can't even do business globally without policy. We have to have the necessary policy from Congress to even do trading of goods or services around the world. Then we have international trade regulations, which is like customs and compliance and EPA and FDA. Then we have all of the compliance portion, which is more so an adherence to. So when we're talking international trade, we're talking goods and services, including IP, that are going to be traded with other countries. And that does mean import and export. Services are also imported and exported. You can't just take a drawing and say, I sketched this, and this is how you can now build a camera or a microphone and export that intellectual property out of the country legally without international trade.
Really?
Yes. So people like, no, you mean logistics. No, I mean international trade. Logistics is totally separate from that.
So explain the difference, because when people hear like, oh, logistics, they automatically go to trucking. So what is all of, I know, I'm sorry.
So let's break that down, because first and foremost, trucking is not logistics. Trucking is transportation. So let's take it all the way back to parent-child relationships. So first of all, we have supply chain, which is literally the link between all the entities of supply chain. So that includes international trade, warehousing, transportation, and we can go on and on. But I want to distinctly talk about global logistics. So when we're talking global logistics or even logistics domestically, that is the physical movement of the good. So that is air freight, that's ocean freight. Do you know what the 5 modes of transportation is? Most people don't.
The air.
Okay, that's one.
Ground.
Okay.
A camel. Donkey back.
So people always miss them, right? Because they don't think about the regulatory train. So we have air, ocean.
Yes.
Road.
Yes.
Train and pipelines.
Oh, I never would have thought about that.
And that's in the regulations, which brings us to trade, right? So when you're thinking about global logistics or even domestic logistics, even trucking, that is all the movement, the physical movement of goods.
Understood.
Now, and that is, of course, a part of supply chain. But you can't make anything move without international trade, because if there's no policy that allows you to move the goods, then those goods never move. And the policy and the regulations behind that are distinct to commodities. So there might be huge restrictions on how I move my jacket, but there might not be many restrictions at all if I wanted to move this microphone. And then guess what? That changes even more so depending on what continent. Then that changes again if we're talking about a distinct country. That's why every country has a minister of trade and industry and investment, because they have to oversee what the policy is just for their country.
First of all, I'm about to throw this mic across the room. How do you even get into this? Come on now. You from up north.
So June this year made 20 years that I've been in this business.
Congratulations.
I like to believe I look younger than I look.
You look beautiful.
So I've been doing this for 20 years. I actually went to school to be a social worker.
That's a little bit of a change, just small change.
I'm from Brooklyn, and I just felt like if I am a social worker, I can make things different for other kids that had to go through some of the things I went through growing up in the projects in Brooklyn. Mm-hmm. And yeah, that didn't work so well. So I started out as a social worker, and I actually was a social worker in New York for years. I did domestic violence, I did foster care, did substance abuse. I worked for the welfare center. I used to issue food stamps, welfare. And it was a violent environment. And then after 9/11, I didn't really want to live in New York anymore because I was there and it was traumatizing. So I was thinking of ways like, where can I go? Where do I know someone, at least one person? And my brother had moved to Atlanta to go to school. And I had never come because we used to come here in the summers, but we came to like the Augusta, Waynesboro, Golf. That's where my Really?
Yeah, in Augusta.
That's where my grandparents lived. And they lived dirt road, outhouse, go pick them greens in the back, and whatever you had for dinner and that last night, go with grits in the morning. So I hated coming to the South because I never seen what it can be like in a city way, right? So I came to visit and I was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna stay. So I resigned from my social work job. I didn't even know how to drive. I barely knew how to drive. Let me say that.
I think that's an up north
That's
thing.
A New York thing, right? I was in my late 20s. I bought an 88 Camry from my next door neighbor. He was like, you're going to need a muffler. He was from Jamaica. He was so cool. And he helped me get a muffler. I gave him $500 and I got on the road with whatever I could fit in that 88 Camry. And I got in the car and drove from New York to Atlanta, near Six Flags, so the Atlanta metro area. And it got me here, and the AC conked out when I got to like North Carolina.
So you had to roll the windows down and drive in the heat the rest?
Yes, and I was like, well, I'm here now. It ain't no going back. And when I got here, I thought I'd just be a social worker here. I have a college degree. I'll find something. Every time I had an interview, listening to what the criteria was, the responsibility and the pay, I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna need a caseworker for myself. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna have to find a whole new career. So I said, I'm gonna just take a job at a temp agency, whatever job I can get. And that landed me a job at what's called Yellow Freight or Yellow Transportation, which was a large trucking company, but they also were a freight forwarder. And I had never even thought, I'm like, I'm not working for no trucks, but they had a freight forwarding division that was actually exporting goods to the Caribbean. So when I got there, the guy at the temp agency said, you cannot go there and your name cannot be Shaquana. They are not gonna hire you. You can't be Shaquana down here. And I was like, he's like, not with that accent. I was like, oh boy. So he said, we're gonna call you Shay. So I'm gonna submit all your information as Shay. So I'm sitting in the lobby waiting for them to call me, and they didn't call everybody. And it's like 5 o'clock. I'm like, I guess they hired somebody. And they came out like, Shay Campbell. And I'm just sitting there the whole time. I never responded, not realizing I'm supposed to be Shay. Then the woman came over like, ma'am, are you Shay? I said, I'm Shay. I'm Shay.
Like, my bad. I am Shay. I've been drinking. Sorry.
It's like, my bad, I'm Shay. So anyway, we interviewed and I got the job, not thinking Shay was now gonna follow me. Yeah, so Shay ended up following me. So I took that job. I worked there for like a year or two. They taught me export regulations and the logistics to move goods only to the Caribbean. And I didn't know that there was a career in that. I just thought I looked up on this job. The pay was pretty good for a temp. And then they said, hey, we're going to acquire another company called Roadway, and it's their policy. They do not do temp employees, no contractors. So we're giving you a heads up. In like 90 days, you're going to have to go. And I was a temp anyway, so like I need to go anyway. And it was a gentleman there. He was retired. He was near retirement age, and he started telling me how to find jobs with what the right titles were. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, wow, this is a whole career. I ended up from there getting a job at a chemical company. So I'm a chemical expert too. You probably be like, what? I'm a whole trade nerd.
Seriously.
So I went to a chemical company and I started negotiating their freight rates, air and ocean, to move chemicals around the world, including rocket propellant for NASA. So I used to negotiate freight rates for NASA.
You don't think any of this sounds crazy?
It doesn't to me because I live and breathe it. But when I have to say it to somebody that's new to it, and I see the facial expression you're making right now was like, so you've been to Mars? It sounds so like, what? And I don't think about that because to me, it's no different than eating chicken for lunch or something.
Yeah, no. NASA freight stuff is a little bit different than some Popeyes for dinner.
Yeah. It is. And so I know for a fact that I've been favored. I know nobody can ever, never try to play me on favor, right? Ever. My husband be like, if I had the favor that I've seen in your life, on my life, if I knew I had that kind of favor, I'll push a tree and know it's going to fall. And I live by that. I have truly been favored. I've gotten 3 college degrees for absolutely free. I was the first high school graduate out of a family of 8, and I'm the middle child. Wow. I managed to get my associates, my bachelor's, my master's, all absolutely free. I never even seen an invoice. I'm not quite sure what college costs.
I could tell you. If you go to my credit report, you'll know the student loan.
Right, that's favor, right?
That's definitely
favor. I mean, and I graduated high school a year early because I lived in an environment that was when you turn 18, your ass better,
it's time to go.
Yeah, but I was prepped for that. So the summer leading into high school, I was prepped. Like, look, don't go your ass in here playing, running around, running behind no boys because you got 4 years
and you out. What do you think about that logic, by the way, while we're right there?
I mean, now I'm a mother, right? And I'm a mother of 2 girls. My daughter just turned 15 on Friday, last Friday. And I have a 7-year-old. And sometimes I'm like, man, they're ill prepared because when I was 15, I was like, I'm gonna need to promote parties. I'm gonna need to be going out of town. I'm gonna need to be doing bop, bop, bop and the boom, boom, boom because my stash gotta be right.
Yep.
And now I'm like, she be calling me like, I need $55 for lunch. What you eat $55 for lunch? Because me and my friend, like, where y'all going to Papa Do's? I'm gonna need you to go to Chick-fil-A.
That's the first thing I was
right. So sometimes because of how hard I had it and growing up in the projects in Brooklyn, and I grew up in the projects in Brooklyn in the 80s where you could get your sneakers stolen, your shell tops, right? It was back when it was the gods and, we was beatboxing and it was gyms in the park. And, I grew up then and I don't, Brooklyn is a new Brooklyn, but I grew up in old Brooklyn. Mm-hmm. And it was really survival of the fittest for real. So when people be like, you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. I don't know about the people growing up in New York today, but I promise you, if you grew up in the era that we did and you was able to make it there, I believe that I was well equipped to make it anywhere. But because I was thinking about, how I got to prepare for my adult life, I think it stripped me of a kid life. So I never was like, let's go play. I really was double dutching in the park.
That's just what I was going to ask.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't the double dutch girl. I wasn't trying to play skelly. I mean, I was braiding hair around the block to make sure I could make money. I mean, I was promoting parties. I was young, right? But everybody that was older than me was in the street heavy, so I was well protected, very well. Like nobody wanted no problems over here. So in that aspect, because I had that level of protection, I could move and shake it anyway and make money in any form, and I never had no issue. I hear people say all the time, money just gravitated to me. I won't say it just dropped out the sky and gravitated me because I was grinding and getting mine. But what I will say is that God favored me in a way that I never had to do anything where my ethics, my integrity, or my womanhood was ever in jeopardy. So I was safe in that way. And I thank God for that because a lot of the people I grew up with today while we're in our 40s, they look hard knock life because they look like pimping ain't easy. And I didn't have to endure that to the point where I don't look like that today. I'm really grateful for that, although I've had my own traumatic experiences. So I look at my daughter and I be like, her ass is fluffy. I say that, but I'm blessed to say that.
Yeah.
Now my 7-year-old, she about that life. Wherever you at, I'm at. And I don't know how. But my 15-year-old, as I'm now preparing her for college soon and talking to her about entrepreneurship, only the entrepreneurs I knew was like loan sharks. I didn't know that at the time. Probably pimps and drug dealers, but they actually were skilled professionals in their own right.
They had systems too.
And they had
nobody has better
training.
Systems than
Do you hear me?
dealers.
Systems and training, truly. So I look at my daughter now, and sometimes I'm a little concerned that I don't feel like she's tough enough. I don't know, but maybe I need to also see the greatness in that I've had to take the hits so that she can just, use her intellect. Because she will outsmart you to death. Like she that girl. Like, oh, I know I'm smarter than you. So watch this, right? So yeah, that's a real fact. That's a true fact. And because I was preparing, no one talked to me about college. It was like, if you get a city job, like the bus driver, the token booth clerk, or anything city related, you guarantee the pension, you can live in the projects, your rent won't fluctuate much, and that's success. And now that people that I know are retiring from that system, I can see what that means now to look like success, because it was the softer side of life if we had one, because you were guaranteed that job for life. You would have to commit murder to not have that job.
Those state and city jobs,
it's the forever.
That's why they be so mean, because they don't know what you're gonna do. I'm still gonna be here tomorrow.
It's robotic almost.
It is.
It's an internal system now. You've become the system. It's literally somebody said, this the inbox, this the outbox, press start. And that's a system. That's an internal system. It's almost innate. Yep. Because, of course, innate means to be born with. But I also believe that there's another level to an innate mechanism when someone pushes a button and it becomes part of your blueprint. Yep. And now that's your the threading of the pattern of your internal self.
I love that you worded it that way.
That's a true fact. That's not. I don't believe that's even my perception. I think that's just wholehearted facts. So because I was thinking that way, I was like, all right, so I got to get up out of here. I didn't feel insulted by that. I felt like game on, because this ain't it. I want to. At that point, my older siblings were having kids, and it was like, yeah. And all this, head to toe on the bunk bed, we gonna have to do something. So I didn't feel like, oh my God, what I'm gonna do? It was like, oh, game on. It's whatever. I promise you, that's not gonna be a hard thing to do. So I decided as soon as I went to school to figure out how I can take the next year's classes at night. So every year I was doing the next year's classes at night. My husband and I actually went to high school together, and everybody said I disappeared. They couldn't find me no more. Because by the time I had gotten to 16, I was done. I didn't have to take state exams. I had a diploma in my pocket, but I didn't want to tell anybody because I didn't have enough money. I had whatever money I was making from parties, braiding hair, but I knew apartment money, and I'm not going to be in these projects kind of money, was going to be different. So because I was able to get my degree almost a year and a half early, I was working at Bed Bath & Beyond in the day and Macy's doing inventory at night. And even though I wasn't of age, because I had a diploma, that automatically allowed you to get the working papers you needed. Mm-hmm. So I was working from 7 in the morning to 2 in the morning.
Jesus.
And when it was all said and done, now I'm like, hey, mom, dad, sisters and brothers, I'm graduating. But I had been out of school, but I went back to walk with my class. And went back to work with my class, I'm renting a Jaguar, I'm going to my prom, and came back to prom well, madam, because I was good. I was real good. So the day I moved out, back in the day it was layaway. I don't think layaway exists anymore, right?
Do they have layaway?
They have layaway? It's a rap for that.
They rich.
So back then, they rich. Oh, yeah. It was layaway back then. So I had bedroom sets and stuff on layaway every time I got paid everywhere. So I was good. So on graduation day, we had graduation is over. We were sitting in Burger King around the corner from my block, my parents and my siblings. And my mom was here, and she slid me an envelope, and it was a legal size envelope. And when I opened it, it was all the exams, the test exams. Because now I'm, and it was I graduated on my 17th birthday.
Wow.
And she was like, you could be the bus driver, you could do token booth clerk, you could do data entry clerk, you could do, right? And the application for housing, which is to apply for all the projects. And I was like, nobody don't have a bigger dream for me. Now I feel better about that. But at 17, I was like, nobody even believed in me. But that wasn't true. Yeah. My parents had come from the deep South. My father was completely illiterate. I don't even know, because he never not had, and we never not had. Right. We ate, we had, even though that was our environment, we was very much protected, and we never not had. My mother was an evangelist of a Pentecostal church. So I always knew the word, and nobody can give, that's the greatest gift anybody could give you. Although I discounted that at the time. And my father was illiterate, but he worked for the Department of Sanitation on the back of the truck. And he was the 3-car Marley guy on the block, like, put your money right here.
What?
Oh yeah, don't play.
I've never picked the right card. Not one single time, and all the time. Every single time.
You ain't supposed to, because the system ain't designed for you.
See, you know what? Let's talk about systems when it comes to counting cards.
The system was not designed.
Card counting
The system was not designed.
It was not designed for me.
And my father was the guy that loaned the money to the local like cleaners to get on his feet. He was the guy around the way, like he was the plug. Everybody knew, like they called him Shade Tree. And they be like, yo, you go to Shade Tree, you know you could get your business popping. And I still didn't get that was entrepreneurship at the time. I was like, yo, my pops be out here hustling. That's how I was seeing, like my pops gonna make sure we got. So it was 8 of us and we never went without anything. Ever, never, ever, never, never. So here it is, graduation day, 17th birthday, because I'm a June 19th, Juneteenth baby. We sitting in Burger King and I look at this envelope like, I promise I could do way better than this. And I had like $18,000 cash in my pocket.
And they had no idea.
Because I was even scared, like what bank's really gonna do? I don't know. Cash in my pocket, like in my bra. And I was like, I'm moving out to them. It was like, moving out, you ain't ready to move out. You still got another year. I was like, no, I'm moving out today. Like right now, I'm not going back to your house right now. So that went from, yay, high school graduate to, oh, you think you grown?
Oh, it went the other direction.
Oh, you think you grown? Oh, because you ready to pay the cost to be the boss. I was like, yeah. All right, then you're going to have to go with what you got on right now. Don't come get nothing out my house. You grown. So in my cap and gown, I got on the train. I called my friend. She called her uncle. They was like, take the train 2 stops. We're going to meet you there. They drove me around to pay off my stuff that was on layaway. And within like the week, my apartment was fully furnished. And I had a condo on the beach in Coney Island.
Oh my God.
Doorman and everything. They was like, yo, y'all robbed something? Y'all stuck up something?
That's the first option. That's the first
I was like, no, I've been working like 7 a.m. to 3 a.m. for the last like almost 2 years.
That level of dedication. And I love that it comes from both your mom and from your father, because you have the hustle clearly, and you have the Christ. So that part of it is very important. Now, when you look at your babies and you're like, I don't want you to go through this kind of stuff that I had to go through. I don't want you to feel like on your graduation that you have to get out. Yeah. Do you subscribe to that part? The get out at 18?
Never. No. There's so much more that I need to nurture and guide. I mean, we got our kids forever. Yeah. But when I was so angry when I left, you can't guide me on nothing. I'm never speaking to you again in life. I didn't see my parents again until I graduated college, and I invited them. So, yeah.
What made you invite them?
I used to smoke cigarettes back then, right? Because I was around all smokers. It was like, I don't know. Anyway, so back then I was smoking a cigarette outside the job I had. Because now I'm like, I can't work retail. Like, how do I sustain? That's not going to be it. So now I had a legit job. I was pushing the mail cart around the office, handing out mail back in the day. And I was smoking a cigarette outside. And this guy that worked for the company, he was the only Black executive there. And he was a former Black Panther. He came outside. He was like, I be seeing you out here smoking these cigarettes. Where you work in this building? So I told him, he said, oh, we work at the same company. He was in the NYU building. And he was like, girl, where the hell is your parents? You know, Black people will talk to you like
any kind of way.
Like, I'm the uncle, I don't care. He was like, girl, where the hell is your parents? I was like, I'm grown. I'm big grown. He was like, baby, you all right? What's the matter? He just hugged me.
And I started crying.
I just like melted in his arms. And he was like, where is your parents? I was like, I don't have parents. And he was like, well, you're not going to just be walking around here pushing no damn mail cart. You need a career. How are you going to sustain for life? And I was like, I'm a born hustler. I'm going to always make money. He was like, no, fuck that. You wildin'. And he said, come with me. We got in the elevator and he walked me into the office of the vice president of HR. And he was like, she need us. And we need to figure out a way for her to be a student. She can't have this much time on her hands. They took me out of the mail room, told me to take an exam. Let's take an exam and see, what she capable of. It was an insurance company. I started doing medical billing and coding and stuff.
What?
I passed the exam. That got me from like $6 an hour to like $13, $14 an hour.
So you rich.
Got a 401k now. Now I was like 18 maybe. So now I was getting a 401k. And I was starting like, wait a minute. They was like, well, she going to have to also be a shop steward for the union. What's a union? And they was like, the union to pay for her to go to school as long as she does that community service. So they changed my hours to work from 7 to 3, and I went to school from 4 to 10, 4 days a week for 4 years.
Oh my God.
And so I had no time for nothing. So that probably helped save me too, because I couldn't be on the block. I couldn't be chilling with my friends. It was like, I got school, and they were still living with their mothers. So they was
responsibilities.
Yeah,
like rent.
Like, no, I need my lights the fuck on.
Oh my gosh. So all of this journey, and then for you to end up in this space, was there any part of you, and I know when you were young, believed in yourself. Did you see from back then at 17, moving out on your own to where you are globally now?
Never. You know what I thought I would be?
What?
I wanted to be a journalist.
Really?
But social work felt safe. So I said, because I thought journalism was freelance. Like, how do people get paid for that for the rest of their lives? Because everybody ain't Barbara Waters. I'm just saying.
I know.
So I was like, social work could get me a check, and maybe some retirement money or something. But on the side, I'm going to be a freelance journalist because I like to talk. I speak well. Mm-hmm. And I knew that I could be dope at that. And I'm a writer at heart. I've written and write all the time. So I was like, I'm going to write novels, and I'm going to be a journalist, like on broadcast somewhere. And I've never pursued that. I still believe I'll be a famous author one day. But I never thought that I'll be traveling around the world like this. I never thought I'll make the global impact I'm making. I never thought that I'll be culturally advanced, because it's a cultural advancement. So I'm not just book smart or intelligent in my field. I'm culturally advanced because I can go into any nation at any time and make an impact on the service I can provide, but also how I can take the culture that they're already in and help enhance that in a way that they can bring that cultural experience to this country.
You know what's crazy is that when we think of global, we think of international, we think so small. So small, because nobody's talking to us about this.
Every time I hear global, I'll be like, no, that's not really
not really even what I'm talking about. So give us an idea of how a regular company could come to you and say, how do I go global? What would that journey look like?
So it would depend on what they do first, okay, right? So I don't always advise everyone that they might be in the stage for a global impact.
What would be an ideal kind of company for you?
Oh, that's a good question. Also, what you do would be ideal. People need systems big time. And
I'm leaving you guys here in the States.
So I'm going to go off topic a little bit, but I'm going to show you how it comes back to the systems question. So their trade agreements, the United States has 14 trade agreements, meaning that they have made negotiations with another country to trade goods. Now, in those agreements, these 14, they actually have the agreement to trade for free, meaning they can import their goods into this country duty free. All right. Anybody don't know what duty is? That's tariffs, that's taxes. If I told you they didn't have to pay taxes for 5 years, what would you do with the money?
Probably put it under my mattress and sleep on top of it.
She lying. She gonna flip that money.
No, that's what I should do. I would just cry the first couple of weeks because taxes, who child?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's always a heartbeat, right? So right now, the United States has a trade agreement with Africa. It's called the African Growth Opportunity Act, also referred to as AGOA. And it does not apply to every single country, but it applies to a lot of countries. So like, look at what I'm wearing right now. This was made in Ghana. And they're making it based on their culture, how beautiful it is, the colors, the dye, the seam. So now I come in and tell them, well, you want to import this into the US, but you may not qualify to do it duty free. So I'll tell them where the button should go, how much cotton to use, if they should have a collar, how long, should it have a belt, should it have a zipper. I help them what's called engineering a product. I tell them how to engineer their product to give them the opportunity to now qualify for AGOA to import for free. Now look what that means globally. Let's say you love this jacket, but you're like, man, I could get this from China for this amount of money. You think in that way because of the lower labor costs, or maybe if they had a trade agreement, which they don't. But now I'm telling you, no, I have a manufacturer that can get this in the country duty free. Therefore, what it's going to charge you is going to be way less because they don't have to factor in duty in their price point, right? So a lot of the work I've been doing over the last maybe 2 years has been distinct to AGOA. Because as a Black woman, I feel like it's my responsibility to take that knowledge back to the continent, because they're competing. And we're buying India manufactured in African textiles. Right? So when people say culture vultures, that's the same thing. Our culture is being moved to a whole nother nation to be brought back here. And we don't even know. We thinking we supporting our motherland. So instead, what's happening now that I'm seeing though is I'm helping them. I'm telling them how to do it. So now they can be attractive to big buyers like Costco, Walmart, not just the back of somebody's salon. No disrespect. I'm just saying they need more profit. They need to be able to expand to the larger buyers, because that way they'll be able to make the larger profit, because they can bring in big containers, not out hand some in my hand carry when I come back from New Year's Eve, right? Now what I'm seeing as a problem, a challenge, which is not what I do, but for systems, is they need these type of strategies per commodity. And then they need the SOPs, the process development. Who's going to do your customs documents? We also clear your goods through customs for you. Who's going to clear your goods through customs? So if you have a food product, you have to get through FDA before you even can get to customs. So where's your SOP for FDA? Where's your SOP for EPA? Where's your process development for new hires? Because now they need to hire rapidly. And they're like, oh, I don't know. I'm like, all right, I don't do systems.
Well, I'd like
that's
to
not
end
my
this
thing.
interview. I have a job to go apply for over in somewhere. I'd like
somewhere in Ghana.
I want to thank you guys for coming to the
right. I need to go.
No,
I need
who
to
would
be.
think of that?
So you will have an ideal business, right? I think people in the beauty space have great partnership opportunities, but what I'm seeing that the arrogance sometimes from the American is like, no, I'm gonna bring shea butter to Africa. No, you're not. You're not doing that. You're not bringing Zumba either, right? You can't take what originates.
Yeah.
It's insulting. But there's great collaboration ideas, because although they have the raw material, we have the marketing strategy, we have the influence, we have so many other things to make those partnerships great. People that are in transportation and logistics, there's something called AFCA, is AFCTA. It stands for the African Continental Free Trade Area. So for the first time in history, ever, the countries in Africa can now trade goods with each other duty-free. That's never existed before.
How did that not exist?
That's crazy. It's new. It's not brand new, but it's still new considering the world of trade. So now they're building the infrastructure to support that. So I don't know how many countries you've been to in Africa, but you can go to some and the roads is nice and smooth. And you can go to others where it's only smooth for 2 miles, and then you feel like you want a cyclone and it's a whole. So imagine now 18-wheelers trying to transport. So people that are in transportation and logistics, I think that, they don't always do as well as they can. It's because they're just doing what gets them by. Anyone that's going to do great in their industry is because they've mastered it. You can't tell me nothing about trade for no country, nowhere, never, period. I don't care who you are. You don't even want them problems with me, especially not with a microphone in my hand. So for someone like that, I don't mean go drive a truck. Please, I'm not saying don't go drive a truck. I'm saying if you understand logistics, the movement of the good, but the strategy to make the goods move, the geography, the strategic geography to make something move. That's a great opportunity to now teach that geography and mapping and the logistics processes to another country. And that's called skill sharing. And there are actually grants, both domestic and abroad. And there's programs for skill sharing efforts with the diaspora on the continent right now.
Wow.
So that's one. I think there's a huge demand for someone that understands taxes, because they're thinking U.S., but expand that larger to understand the import tax. And you can help somebody increase their P&Ls. You would be dope, especially in Africa. So I do business primarily in India, Africa, and the Caribbean islands.
And that's your preference?
That's my preference for now. Well, I've dedicated myself to Africa for now. Just like when I first started my business, I was telling you when we first started, I had no interest in what I was doing at all. That was not the business plan. But the need was painful. And I don't mean painful for me, I mean painful for the culture. Because somewhere, somehow, a lot of us come from what's called the industrial era, where we were told you work, you get a pension, and the harder you work. Am I saying that right?
Yeah,
the harder you
right.
work, the more money you'll make.
Yes.
I've never had a pension.
Then one time you're going to retire.
So my business is still a baby. My business was established in 2019, right before the pandemic. So I guess that's still a baby, right? I mean, people be in business for hundreds of years. Disney just did their 100-year anniversary. So we're still a baby in business. But I had to abandon a whole market that people would have thought I was crazy. And it took myself down to zero revenue because I refused to be undervalued, because it took me too many years to do what I do, to learn what learned to now be like, my truck has stopped, I'm gonna call her. You promise you're not.
Don't
Like,
call
wow,
me.
that's not what I do. Somebody got it twisted somewhere. Some hashtag was spelled wrong.
Somebody did the hashtag wrong. And thinking about where you've grown to and where you're growing to, just want to throw out that somebody has an accredited. You don't have no little course, no little class. I don't even want to do a course or a class now because woo, child. Talk to me about what it looks like to be accredited when you're teaching people and to be certified
Right.
by you.
So first of all, I want the educated to educate. That's important to me. And that doesn't necessarily mean you have to have a master's or a PhD. That means that everyone is not good at teaching. Like, everybody's not good at speaking. People get speaking engagements because they are the executive vice president of the something, and they want the brand and the name. And then you get on the stage and nobody can keep their eyes open, right? Everybody's not qualified. Qualifications matter. That's I promise. I know my DMs are gonna blow up when this come out. They're gonna be like, oh my God, she trying to flex her master's degree. No, I'm trying to flex the importance of knowledge in our community. If anybody ever make you think that that's whack, they whack. So it took us years to get an accreditation. And it was, at first I just was winging it. Like, maybe I'll just teach one class. I did it for $199 and said, let's see who come. And we maxed out. It was like 65 people. My Zoom account only held 50. I was like, I gotta up my Zoom account.
Upgrade. I know.
my Zoom account. But it was important to me because I didn't realize that there was a course culture. Maybe that's not the right way to say that.
No, that is exactly the right way to say it.
It is? Okay.
Yes, it is.
But I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've always taken courses, right? I didn't just get my degrees. I've had to constantly go back and get enough credits to keep all my credentials because there's a lot of alphabets after my name. And it was continuing education. And I was like, oh, I didn't know people was like showing you how to like line your lip for $100
Yes.
or like all the things. And I was like, I didn't know all these courses existed. I never had social media, and I was working for the largest defense contractor in the world. And I think I was just totally outside. I always said I was in a cave. I tell my husband that, and he always be like, no, you was being protected. So I didn't know what was happening. I just didn't know. I had no idea until, we won't go there, but someone called me the 𝘚𝘺𝘵𝘮𝘮 and it made me quit my job. And that's how I even ended up here. Just saying. So anyway, I was like, man, I don't want to be looked at as, that girl that teach this thing. And I didn't want to be undervalued in my craft and in my skill set. So I said, I need to get a formal accreditation and make sure that when people come through me, they can actually become certified in something. So we're actually launching in the fourth quarter, which is almost right upon us, a certified global trade specialist course. It's going to be a 4-month course. And in that, you completely get a certification. We are fully accredited by the National Education Institute.
Come on. Do you hear this? Can you add a clap in the... There we go. We got a real clap. My daughter said I need one of those buttons. Yeah, I need one of those. Because that is crazy. I don't even know anybody that... Like, what are you talking about?
And it wasn't easy because now you think you bomb at something. And now you have a whole board that's going to look over this thing and be like, I'm going to need you to add a this, and you're missing a that, and you didn't meet this requirement, and you need to step up your game, right? So there's a lot of courses I've taken, but I've always taken it from people that have mastered something. I don't take random anything. And I designate, and this might seem a lot for some people, but I've even done it when I didn't have it on credit cards as an investment in myself, somewhere between $5,000 and $10,000 a year. And that's not a whole lot. And I know people gonna look at this and be like, girl, bye. We out here trying to. I'm telling you, even when I didn't have it, when I was just like check to check, like how am I going? I did do that all the time because just the people I met in those rooms and also the credentials on my name, what that did for me on LinkedIn, people started to seek me. It's a whole nother level when you're sought after. Right? It's value in that. That's why I make sure I bring value to my discussions, value to my rooms that I come in, because I want reciprocity in everything that I do. Right? So our course is completely accredited, and we offer multiple courses. And I'm saying courses meaning within our curriculum. At a bing. Within our curriculum. So we're extremely proud of that. Now, what makes us different as an education institute is the students that do extremely well, we do bring them into our mentorship program. And then I don't offer them jobs. I offer them entrepreneurship opportunities to actually now become a consultant with us. And when I travel abroad, that gives them opportunity to travel with me, because I've been advising embassies and parliament and government officials including businesses. So I need to now vet you, groom you, and prepare you. So I've built my own workforce.
I'm gonna go ahead and shut down this company. Everybody, cut these lights off. We're out here. I found my new employer. So with everything that because that is amazing. Like absolutely amazing. I'm not gonna cry today. I've done good all this time. I'm not gonna cry.
He's like, good job.
He's like, yeah, you did good.
Good job.
But I just think what you've built is so rare and so niche and so specific to all of the things that you've grown through, be it from your parents and be it through the 17 and having your own kids. Like this is a real genuine entrepreneur journey, because folks think that it just starts from nowhere. Like, oh, all of a sudden she's international. Like, no, honey.
No.
I've been doing this for a very, very long time.
No,
a lot
my
of
standpoint's been fat for a long time. No, I mean, before I started my own company.
Yes.
I had to do this for the companies. I've been, going from logistics, I went into trade. I had to learn the law behind the movement. So I was traveling abroad for the companies that I work for as a W-2. So people always say, I'm never going to work for somebody. That's a new thing. I hear that all the time. And I don't knock that. If that works for you and you can solve a problem and you can sustain that, do what you do. For me, coming from the era I was in, working the jobs that I worked gave me the experience that I needed to come in this. And I don't call myself the only, I just call myself the best.
We want to thank y'all for coming to another episode. What? I didn't want to say anything after that. Stop it. But no, that's definitely a mic drop. I'm not going to disrespect your microphones and take it off and drop it. But how can the people stay in contact with you?
So I'm going to end with two things. One, because I don't want to close out with making like I had these horrible parents, right? Because I didn't. Although the story had that piece of it, over the years, I was able to, because of the God in me, because of what my mother made sure I had first. Because, we was the pastor kids that straight from school to church. And because of that, I give God the glory that I could understand what reciprocity meant and another level of forgiveness, because forgiveness can be painful because you have to go through a metamorphosis of growth to forgive somebody wholeheartedly for whatever it is, even if you think they was wrong and they wasn't. So we were able to rebuild and we were able to come back home at some point and really be like, out of 8 kids, I never went back home to live. Mm-hmm. I was always embraced and loved in a hard way, but it contributed to who I am today. So although I had the tears and this feeling of rejection during that time, as I grew and healed from that, I realized that was a level of love. I just didn't know how to define it. And I could define it now. And then sometimes we do what we know how to do, and we do the best at what we don't know while we're doing it. And sometimes that still incorporates love. So to stay in touch with me, the best way to do that is follow me on all social media platforms, and it's Agate Solutions. Agate is spelled like a gate, so it's AGAT Solutions. And then also you can go to our website and you could download a free mini course that teaches you how to import and export globally. And that would be AgateSolutionsUSA.com.
Oh, sorry. No, just make sure you got that part recorded. Shaq, thank you so much for taking the time. First of all, I'm glad that you're here in the country. We're happy to see you here.
I'm leaving in like 9 days.
All right. Well, it was great to have you here while you were here. But I appreciate you for being here. I'm so proud of the accreditation. I know that is something that's huge and is going to blow up. And hopefully, I get to be in one of those courses. All right. So this is Connie S. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. This is another episode of Life with Systems, where we look for the harmony between our business life, our personal life, and let us find some peace in between somewhere in the middle. Love y'all. Bye.
Bye.